Real talk, your butt goes through it. Chafing, itching, mystery rashes, a wild night, or just too many damn squats. That's where anything but comes in. It's like chapstick for your butthole, loaded with all organic aloe, vitamin E, arnica, and virgin hemp seed oil. All the things that say, shh, it's okay, baby, I got you. So give your butt the same energy that you give your face. Heal, soothe, and whether it's hemorrhoids or any other kind of butthole drama, keep that peach happy. Go to anythingbrands.com and use code DEAREVERYONE for a little something off because your butt deserves a little love too. Hey nerds, it isn't our normal snarky, spicy kind of content that you're used to seeing. But if you've ever been shaking ass to wobble wobble or inappropriately singing, you ain't gotta say it too much from the look in you, y'all already know, then you're going to want to listen to this one all the way through. You know his voice, you know his lyrics, but maybe what you didn't know is that he would lose 21 years of his life to a wrongful conviction. And his lyrics were used as evidence. So today, Mac Phipps and his incredible wife, I'm obsessed with, Angelique Phipps, are here to talk all things love, justice, and what happens when the system criminalizes art. So thank y'all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So I don't know if either one of you know this. Maybe you could remember me, but I met you at the
It was
cart.
the race.
Yes,
The race.
the go karting. Yeah. So before I got to like see who you were or anything like that, you actually took my husband's spot on the racetrack. So I was like, who is this?
Well,
Wait, so he
if the
just
husband is watching, I apologize profusely.
so he just like bumped your husband out of the race?
Well, it was this celebrity race. To be fair, my husband is not a celebrity. He was not supposed to be in that race, but someone didn't show up, so they had an extra spot. And we are big like Formula One, karting, all things that kind of fans. So the organizer said, "Oh, Devin, you can go in." And then here comes Mac Phipps, Chawl,
Wow.
just taking over.
Just take the man out
It
of
was
the
Juvie's
spot.
fault. America, it was Juvie's fault. Juvie was like, "Come on, man." He put me on the spot in front of the camera.
Yes. No, and it ended up being great. And trust me, he still got to come on and he got to race me, so it's fine. We're competitive like that.
That's kind of funny.
It was funny, but that's how I found you to begin with. Is I just kind of saw you and you're just like you stand out, like you're physically tall, right? And everyone kind of looked at you like, "Oh my God, Mac's here, Mac's here." I'm like, "Who the fuck is Mac?"
Right.
And so it took me like
I'm like that sometimes too.
you look in the mirror and you're like, "Who the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
Well, I did like a couple, 1 minute of research turned into 1,000. I ended up reading your article on Medium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and I became obsessed. And it was like a hyper fixation on your case and on you guys together. And I sent you a DM. And so thank you for being here. I really
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Nobody is right. I don't think you've read that.
You did a great job.
Thanks. It was a good article.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, it was.
I'm going to
amazing.
repost it on something else.
Yes, 100%. And we will have it in the show notes as well for you guys to read.
Thank you.
You don't say it was a good article. You let me say
can't
it.
say-
You let this young lady say it.
She did say it. I just was co-signing for it.
No,
You're
she's like,
ahead
no,
of-
100%. Like, I put my whole in there. Like, that shit was
Yeah.
fire. It's okay. Yeah, like, we love it. But, Mac, for those people who are listening in who maybe don't know the full story or have only, like, heard about the headlines, can you kind of take us back to that night that changed your life and walk us through exactly what happened?
Yeah, so I had just come off tour, and me and my mother, we had just started a company called Camouflage Entertainment, and we were throwing events around Louisiana, and we found a spot in Slidell. That was actually the second spot that we had in Slidell. The initial event was at another spot. So she found a spot, came in town that afternoon. We all got in a caravan full of cars, drove out here to Slidell, or to Slidell rather. And we were pretty much doing what we normally do, just scoping out the scenery. I was taking pictures with people, signing autographs. I think it was around 1 in the morning or close to it when a commotion kind of was building up on the dance floor. I had heard that there was a young man who kept getting kicked out of the club because he was really drunk, and kind of just agitating a lot of people. And so I guess he kept getting back in because I would later learn that he was somehow kin to one of the bouncers, and he kept getting back in. And so the commotion started. I saw my brother in the middle of the commotion trying to break up two people, which I would later learn was my cousin and the guy who kept getting kicked out of the club. And when I took a step towards it, I heard a gunshot. Like I took a step to kind of go see what was going on, and I heard a gunshot coming from, I think, my right. And I initially didn't know or didn't think it was a gunshot because the music was pretty loud in there, and there were actual gun sounds in the music. You know, some rap music have like gunshot sound effects in it, so I couldn't really distinguish if that was part of the music or if it was an actual gunshot because it was kind of low. But when I saw people running, then I was like, okay, this is not a drill. This is the real deal. So my initial instincts was the young lady that was next to me. I kind of grabbed her and pulled her to the ground and told her just get down, you know. And I then did the thing that changed my life. I reached in my pocket and I pulled my gun out. And I ran towards the front door looking for my mother because my mother had been collecting the admission fee up front. So I ran toward the door. My friends kind of like surrounded me to make sure I was good because at that point I didn't know who was the target, didn't know who was shooting or who was the target, or if in fact I was the target. I didn't know. But I ran toward the door, and then I did this second thing that would change my life. The first thing was pulling the gun out. The second thing that would change my life is because I was so concerned about bumping into someone and having the gun go off, I lifted the gun above my head and scooted through the crowd of people like that, really trying not to bump into anyone and have the gun go off. But what that did was showed everybody in the club that he had a gun, you know. So I ran toward the door, didn't see my mom, ran back, went through out the back door, never saw anyone on the ground or anything, didn't even know anyone was shot at that point, went to my truck, left. When I got to my house in Baton Rouge, 45 minutes later, the young man who was house sitting my two youngest brothers, he was like, he met me on the lawn. He said, Slim, the detectives in St. Tammany just called. They want to question you about a shooting. And it was in that moment that I learned that someone had actually been shot, right? So when he said that, I was like, oh, shit. So someone actually was shot.
It wasn't just the noise.
So I went in the house and kind of asked my friends what was going on or whatever. Nobody seemed to know what was going on, or at least didn't want to say. And within minutes, the neighborhood was surrounded with East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office. They came in the house with my father looking for me, which I knew they were coming because I looked out of the window. I was looking at my monitors in the house on the cameras, and there was police everywhere. They were in the back of my house, in the front, they were everywhere. And they had my parents laid out in the street. My dad come in there, and he was like, son, they looking for you. I said, come on. I got ready. Ironically, I had gotten ready for jail. I took off what I had on and put on some gray sweatpants and a white T-shirt. I mean, not a white T-shirt, just a T-shirt and sweatpants. What I see people on TV with, you know, in jail, when they show prison on TV, I see people with sweatpants, T-shirts, so that's what I put on. I just got ready to go to jail. I didn't think I was going to stay past a couple hours. I thought they were going to bring me to jail, question me, find out everything that happened, and let me go. But that's not what happened. When I got to the substation where they questioned me, they interrogated myself as well as everybody that was at my house. They told everybody to come. And at that moment, they were questioning me about, I believe the charge was an aggravated assault. At that moment, I think it was aggravated assault. And they were questioning me about it. And at that time, I had one thing that I was trying to do, and that was avoid being charged with having a concealed weapon. Because keep in mind, no one was dead yet. So in my little 22-year-old mind, the person who got shot is going to tell him who shot him. So I am not even thinking about that. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, Now I got to try to get out of this concealed weapon charge. So they were like, did you have a weapon on you? No. Unbeknownst to me, they had already talked to people who said they saw me running through the club with a gun up high in my hand, but I just didn't think that far into it. I was just like, no, I didn't have a gun. So they were like, well, several witnesses say you had a gun. I didn't have a gun on me. So at some point, somebody came in the room and whispered something to the detective. And that's when the detective kind of turned to me and told me that the investigation had been upgraded from a assault to an actual homicide.
Like a movie, like
yeah,
when they whisper in the ear.
right. And that's when I got scared because now at this point I was like, whoever was shot can no longer speak for themselves. So I'm in here being questioned, and I just felt that at that moment something wasn't right. And so, yeah, that's when I basically told them, listen, in so many words, I lied about not having a gun. Now let's go back to my house and get the gun that I had because now I need this gun to free me of these charges. So we went, got the gun. They took it, tested it. It was never fired. They know this. That was on the record. But what they did was try to create the idea that there was a missing gun, is what they wanted to, what they kind of sold to the jury. They did something with my hands. They took the gunpowder residue test. They conveniently came up missing.
Wow.
Yeah, so because that test would have revealed that I never fired a weapon. And I think that within 48 hours, I would say, I believe that they knew exactly what happened within a day or two. And so that's why I guess I was so angry for so long, because I was like, if I thought you guys thought y'all had the right person, it was gonna hurt regardless, but it would have made me feel that y'all were actually seeking true justice. But nah, I think within the first 48 hours, they knew.
I would argue that
What
it was
happened?
sooner than that.
Yeah, no,
They
that's why I
knew-
said within the first 48 hours, I think they knew what happened.
No,
So you feel like he was targeted?
absolutely. I mean, you look at like even just a lot of the stuff that was going on during that time. You have to keep in mind that you had like literal congressional hearings against gangster rap, and it had all of this going on, right? And there was different things about it's gonna bring gangs and like
Right.
just all of everything going on. But like if you actually look at the court records and the things that people are saying, like you had a ton of 911 calls identifying actually who did it, describing who did it. And like
Mhm.
there was too many things that
And it wasn't me.
disappeared.
The person they
Yeah,
was describing
and
didn't
then-
look nothing like me.
And when you're reading, like even like the devil's in the details in terms of, I personally have never seen anything so blatant. Like it's kind of like, yeah, we're gonna narrate your demise, literally in the sheriff's resume or police report, however you want to talk about it. But there was things where you had a guy that he was related to the victim like somehow, and then they were saying, oh no, he wasn't related at all, but he was on probation. And so they had someone call him and say, like, you need to say that he did it, blah blah blah, and he said, I'm not going to say what I didn't see. Like, this is all quoted.
Yeah, it's all quoted.
And so they're like, all right, bet. I mean, they didn't say that, but they're like, we're going to give you until tomorrow at like 4 or something, or we'll see you at your job. Tomorrow at 4 came, and they picked him up.
And I met him. I met him in the parish
Yeah,
jail.
and it just like that's the level of it. And then when you even look at like the misfires from the gun, they put them out for the jury as if that was like like
As if it was the bullet.
right.
Wow.
The actual bullet that was pulled from the victim never made its way. Like it's on the court record, like on the what is it, the chain of custody or whatever on it, and it never made its way. What you see is the misfires, which
So you're saying they quote unquote like lost it, the actual bullet, or
No, they didn't lose it. They
Conveniently.
conveniently
it conveniently misplaced it. No, but I mean, when you look at
conveniently
what the
didn't reveal
evidence,
it.
yeah, what the evidence was. I mean, so much of it was smoke and mirrors. Like from, even you've got all this stuff just showing. Oh, look at all these guns. That have nothing to do with
Yeah,
anything. All
every
of them
gun
were
that was in my
registered.
house were registered. I
Yeah,
bought all of them
and
legally.
But it's confusing to a jury who may not know that that's what's happening.
Yeah,
right, and
because I mean, just unfortunately, when they see a young person and particularly a young African American with guns, it's like they must be illegal, they must be stolen, you must be a criminal. I'm like, nah, I literally brought these guns, and the reason y'all don't want to say that because then y'all would have to reveal where I bought them from, and where I bought them from is a well-known gun store, probably owned by some conservatives. You know what I mean? And you would bring those people into that, and they didn't want to do that.
I think I tried to stop you as you were telling your story. Sorry, but like it probably is important to note that the gun that he had was registered, but I don't know. People may or may not know it, but you cannot bring a gun
Yeah, I
registered
didn't
or
have
not into a
yeah,
bar
I didn't have a permit to bring
or a club.
I don't even think a permit at that time existed to bring it into a nightclub.
Which is why you thought you were going back home after. You're like, all right, I'm gonna get in trouble. I might.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna have to like atone for this sin
yeah,
here,
that's
but
it. Yeah, but that was it. I didn't think I
not
was
murder,
no.
especially a murder you didn't commit.
Probably
For and let me state this.
tell
I want to make this distinction. The person who was causing the commotion, the person that I was mentioning who kept getting put out of the club, is not the victim of the crime. He was actually the victim of the crime was coming to his aid because he was in a big fight with a bunch of guys and a bunch of people that came with us. And so that young man lost his life trying to save
Wow.
his friend.
yeah.
Wow.
So it was just a sad situation. And
Out of all the interviews and stuff I've watched, I don't think I've ever heard you guys talk about that aspect of it.
yeah, and I always try to make sure that when we talk about this, that the true victim in this was that young man who lost his life, and his family has to visit his gravesite every year. You know, yes, a tragedy was done to two families. One was done to me. I was taken unjustly away from my family for 21 years, but they did get a chance to come see me. They got a chance to touch me. You know what I mean? And that young man was taken from his family forever, and those people have to go visit him at a graveyard. So I just want to make sure that I make sure that people understand this is not a
Two things can be true.
yeah, two things can be true. This is not a easy thing to I guess deal with.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think a big part of all of this and even getting you physically here in this building, as we kind of shared, like all of this happened in St. Tammany Parish. And
Right.
there's people all over the world who listen to this podcast, but what they might not understand about St. Tammany, and that's where we're filming this right now.
Right.
Thank you for being here. Like, I can't even imagine how traumatizing it is after 21 years in prison for something you didn't do, coming back miles away from the place. So I truly appreciate that. Just tell your story. You know?
Yeah, it was definitely not a decision that I made lightly. We went back and forth about it for some days, and I just was like, I don't know.
I understand. I mean, like, my voice is cracking. I'm not a crier, but like, I feel like I'm like, if I start crying, I'm sorry. Truly, I think there's almost something, as chaotic as it was, like something cathartic about coming back though, and kind of
Right.
like getting to rewrite the story, So thank you. A lot about like my personal ethos and what we kind of talk about on the show is we touch on things about like manifestation and calling what you want into your life. And like some people might say like speaking words into existence or prophecy. And there's a song that you wrote called Lockdown.
Right.
And I would love for you to talk about that.
Scariest song I ever wrote in my life. So it's weird because Lockdown was written in 1996, I believe, 1996. I had a dream that everything that I talk about in Lockdown stemmed from a dream that I had. And so I had a dream. I got up, I wrote the dream down so I don't forget it. And then I think months later, I turned the dream into an actual rhyme. Didn't think about it just thought it was a cool thing to rap about. Um, I love the art of storytelling in hip hop, so I thought it would be a great story to tell. Um, I can't recall what I was feeling when I wrote it because I think it was just me taking a dream I had, turning it into a rhyme, and I thought it would be cool. Thought it would be something that people would be like, wow. Because that's what, hip hop artists we do. We look for that wow factor. Had no idea it was going to have that type of wow factor. My initial recording of it was for Master P's I'm Bout It movie. So that was one of the first songs that I recorded as a No Limit artist. Because when I got to No Limit, they were finishing up the I'm Bout It soundtrack. Um, Ironically, the mix of the song as it was on the I'm Bout It soundtrack was not not good. The actual sound quality wasn't good. So what I did was I remixed it and put it on the last project I did on No Limit in '99. So as fate would have it, this song was one of the first songs that I recorded as a No Limit artist and one of the last songs. And it wasn't planned. This was not a planned thing. It just happened this way. And I remixed it and I did it the way I wanted it done, and it came out perfect the way I wanted it. And I placed it on my World War III album. And World War III was released on September 28, 1999. So February 21st,
Just months.
2000, months later, I was arrested.
And can you tell us, like, for the people who don't know Lockdown, like some of the kind of key verbiage or what it's about?
Well, Lockdown is a song, America. Lockdown is a song about a young man being sent to prison for a crime that he didn't commit. It's in the song, I kind of allude to who did it, which is somebody that's with me or a friend of mine. In fact, on one of the bars, I said, "Now I'm in the pit over some shit I didn't commit. It was them I was with, but I'm silent." And it's just crazy because all of that actually would happen months later.
You are a powerful manifester. Wow.
In all the wrong ways.
In
In
all,
that
in that
situation.
situation, fucked up.
And to go further into it, the second verse starts with me saying, "My baby girl's pregnant with a future Mac, waiting for me to come back, but the judge ain't trying to hear that." When I was arrested, my ex was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah, with my son. So it's just weird. I say in the song, "Have mercy on the soldier. I see the things Nostradamus couldn't see." Yeah. So I didn't, at the time when I was writing this stuff, I had no idea that it would happen. I think the detectives believed that it was a plot because at the end of the song, I say, "I escape after 9 years." Well, 9 months. In the song, I say, "It's been 9 months of pain in this ball and chain, and I'm still thinking about the days I was living vain." Either way it go, I escape after 9 months on the song. Well, 9 months into my incarceration, the detectives came to my cell because I think they had been listening to the song, trying to see if I had all of this planned out.
Holy shit. So not them thinking that, like, no, like, this is happening. And you're like, bro, I wish I never would have wrote that down ever.
They were thinking, I think their perspective was I was trying to live out my songs.
Crazy.
And I was like, that's a very interesting stance to take.
Facts. As a police, okay. um,
That's kind of a good segue into
Yeah.
how art is criminalized.
Literally.
Yeah.
So, and all I think about is when you're saying that, you're saying you have a dream. It's like this funnel, right? Like any good artist of any kind would. You know, my son's like an artist through and through. He's been acting since he was 6 years old on television and film. He makes music, he makes beats. So we have these kind of conversations over and over and over again of saying, like, when things come through, like, how are you going to adapt it to the message you want to actually put
Right.
out. He's 16 going on 17, so it's, not these grand ideas or
Right,
anything, but
right.
it is what it is. And you hear something like that, and it's a funnel, right? You had a dream, you take out your notebook, you write down the dream, and then you decide to turn that dream into a story, and that story into your form, your medium of art, which was
Right.
music. And they still, like, do they not hear a Taylor Swift song? Do they not hear any country music? Like,
But what is Bohemian Rhapsody? Mama,
yeah,
I
just
killed a
killed a
man.
man.
Yeah, they hear it.
Okay, we're harmonizing. That was a moment. I think about stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, so all these things happen. It brought you to this point, and now, before you even get to court, are you thinking like, okay, there's no way. Once they see everything, they're gonna know that this wasn't me.
Yeah. I truly believed that the whole time I was in the parish, I just thought that my trial date was going to be my out date. I was like, no way a jury is going to believe this. This is insane. They have no weapon. They have no credible witness. A guy confessed to it twice. There is no way.
Somebody
Yes,
confessed to it twice.
Someone confessed to it twice. In fact, the first time they confessed to it, I think I had been locked up 10 days when they went and confessed to it. So this was like, all right, I'm going home. When I
This
get
was
to trial,
Saint Slaminy. Like,
Yeah.
that was the DA trying to play a game because you're a rapper.
yeah, and I
Y'all were
literally
hot. You know what I mean?
at
Like,
the time, yeah, and I literally just thought that the trial date would be my day that I go home. I had no idea, but I underestimated how diabolically ingenious what they did was. I underestimated it. It was all pomp and circumstance. It was all smoke and mirrors. When I went to court, they had like the whole downtown Covington blocked off. They had snipers on the roof. They made it look like just like
theater.
This guy
It was theater.
this guy's this
Well,
big time gangster.
yeah, even before that, and like I call this out because this is something that just bothers me to the core, but it's like playing it out in the media ahead of time. So whatever, particularly in high profile cases, that's why even with certain things that I see, I'm always looking and going, okay, well, who put that out? Like, what is the story, right? Because within 24 hours of the incident, you had one of the ADAs with Rolling Stone and MTV saying if he doesn't plead guilty, I'm going to make sure he gets the electric chair. Yeah. So, like, there's little violations just in that right there.
Yeah, we're talking about innocence to proven guilty.
And then if you look at a lot of the clip, it was very strategic in it of like, even using his moniker, assassin, like camouflage assassin does this. Yeah. And then just the description of the shooting wasn't even remotely accurate. Like if you're looking at it, you're like, oh my God, what a savage. Versus
right, it's from PR that it's marketing.
We can make it theater. We can make it whatever we have, and what a lot of that tells me is you really don't have strong evidence a lot of times.
Yeah, it's like, do you really think in wrestling the Undertaker is an Undertaker? You know what I mean? This is all.
He's like, I'm reformed. I've gone to wrestling.
This is all theater. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not really the Terminator. I mean,
maybe he is.
This is make-believe.
I mean, from my understanding, and using even like names, like my moniker is like V So Spicy, and that was strategically placed for me to reinvent myself after my divorce because I had been married for 10 years, and I spent my whole 18 to 30 married and being mom and wife with like no way to like express myself and that like spicy, edgy side of me. So, the second I stopped crying over a divorce, I literally was like, I'm gonna go by V So Spicy now. Like, we're gonna push the limits here.
Right.
Is that me 24/7? Fuck no. Is that like a version of like a avatar I've built around myself or interest? Yes, that is my art.
And I'm the same way. And she'll tell you when I'm on stage, you get that character. You get Mac. When I walk off of that stage, it's like, I won't be bothered. Where my dogs at? Where my dogs? So it's like
people always think I'm talking about two separate people too. I'm just like,
there's McKinley and then there's
Mac. And I mean the avatar was built to protect McKinley. You know what I
As
mean?
with most
Because
creatives.
McKinley has some
He's a weirdo.
very weird ways of looking at life. So, the character was, I guess, a way that I was able to communicate better with the people.
Yeah, he Matt can be that rap guy with his whatever, and it's great.
Hmm.
And sometimes he can even be an asshole. It's fine.
I love this. We need to bring
Yeah.
more spouses on with each other.
Not, I'm a hater, but not not to me, of course, because I'm not trying to hear it. I am the asshole in the relationship, but
Indeed.
They said clip that.
but McKinley is this just weirdo creative that nerd, he big nerd.
This is a smart podcast, so
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah, so it's like very different, but I think that people also need to apply that same lens when they're looking at whoever it is.
Yes. And you would think it would be that much, On the contrary, though, so we had lockdown, and in every way, shape, or form, to me, as a person who's like very self-aware of what I speak into my life, I think, wow, like whether there was a premonition or not, you spoke that into your life to a degree, at least. And then, on the contrary, like I was listening to this morning, we have 21 summers. And that's really like kind of encompasses your time out and kind of reflecting that like you spent 21 summers in prison, what you missed, but also like new memories,
Right.
And
And-
how does that feel? Like, was that strategic, or was that just a part of, like, you wrote that after you got out, or?
No.
He
I
said
wrote,
no.
I wrote 21 Summers while in work release, imagining what it would be like once I'm out.
Wow. Do you know how powerful you are?
Sometimes.
Like, do you reflect on that and you're like, well, did it change how you write music now? Like, do you ever like go, oh, delete, because...
Of course. Yeah. I have said some stuff, wrote some stuff, and like, nah, I ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
Because, nah, not again. We ain't gonna do that.
It's dark trauma, dark comedy.
I guess I am a person who believes that words carry energy and everything is energy. So, from that perspective, I believe that everything that everybody ever says in this life will come to pass. I just think some are aware of it and some aren't. Because we all have those times in our life where we're like, I said that, or I thought that. You know what I mean? You knew that was going to happen. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit, but I think everyone has that power.
As artists, and I think today, like in this day and age too, it's like so much stuff is recorded. So for you were recording by writing everything out. Now everything's on the internet, and people are just grabbing their phone, making a selfie video. Like, we have like more awareness around just how powerful I think our words are now more than ever. But can we go back to court? So was it shocking when they brought up your lyrics? Because from my understanding, they kind of like, they were artists themselves and kind of cut and paste
Remix.
a remix from different songs to make what ended up being used against you.
Yeah, so they used two songs. One of them was called Murder Murder, and one of them was called Shell Shock. They both were on the Shell Shock album. So Murder Murder was basically a battle rap that is like an ode to military cadences. When they march and they're like, murder, 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 kill, 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 I've been, all that. So that's what was the base of Murder Murder. So the chorus is literally murder, 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 kill, 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 shit's real. So that was my ode to military.
They didn't say
cadences.
shit's real on the battlefield in court, did they?
They didn't.
should've.
So they said that, and then they took a portion of a song called Shell Shock, in which I'm describing my dad, right? And I say that he gave me his name, he gave me the game, and if you F with me, he'll put a bullet in your brain, is what I'm talking about, my dad. And,
Don't mess with my
Don't mess with my
family.
family, right?
I need
My
to do-
dad
I
is
need to
a
be
shell-shocked
ad-libs person
Vietnam
over here,
veteran.
who is in fact a Vietnam veteran.
On the cover of Shell Shock, I was wearing one of my father's best friend's field jacket. He's a person, my dad goes to visit his grave every year for his birthday. He has like 2 or 3 Purple Hearts he has a bunch of medals. Like this guy he got a Medal of Valor. He was just a brave soldier. But when they got out of the military, he ended up being the person to train my dad at the VA for his job. So they were like this. But on Shell Shock's cover, that's whose field jacket I'm actually wearing. So yeah, my dad's a Vietnam veteran, and what I was saying was about him. So what they did was they took that line about my dad, and they took murder, murder, and they put it together and said, murder, murder, kill, kill. If you F with me, I'll put a bullet in your brain. These are the words of this young man. I'm in court like,
You're like, what song?
I didn't say that.
You're like, first of all, it would be way better than that because that's trash, putting it together like that.
Hot garbage.
I'm like, dude, you ain't got bars. So,
That ain't a rhyme.
and I guess was what makes it even just getting into the I guess the song lyric aspects of it. My song lyrics were used against me, right, as character evidence to suggest that because I made these type of songs, I more than likely have the propensity, as you would say, to commit these type of crimes. But my question is, what if I didn't write them? What if I had a ghostwriter? So is it
Well, you
the
had
ghostwriter's propensity to
Period.
commit these crimes? I
you
mean,
had a feature on there too. So like, was it the other person?
yeah, and I had another
Just
person actually
like-
featured on that song. So were they looked at in the same light? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, we know that this is art. I have the belief that these people were very aware that this was art. I mean, we don't live under a rock. We know that this is music, this is entertainment. And I think they saw an opportunity to paint me in a bad light, considering that the jury was rigged in a certain way, and it was effective.
And in so much karmic debt, I will let you guys at home go look up what has happened to some of these people that were kind of on this campaign against Mac during that time, where they're at today. I encourage you to all look it up.
I feel like we should have like this. Like, I know you should not rejoice in others' demise. However,
Well, no, we can giggle.
yeah, we can giggle just a little bit, but just I feel like we ought to have like some magic music, like, and then just show where are they now.
I am going to respond by saying the old Southern Belle church ladies, bless their hearts. That's all I'll
Bless
say.
their hearts. All right, Mac. Well, I've seen a lot of interviews, and I have to say, like, one thing I really, really respect about you is kind of like your attitude through it all. Like, of course, there's going to be moments in time where you know, the frustration and like mourning and things like that. But all in all, like, you had a really good reputation. As poorly as they tried to paint your reputation in court, you had a great reputation in jail. Is there any like stories of jail that like maybe kind of stick out or anything like that, like a prison story that maybe was funny or maybe was heartwarming or anything like that we could know, a little secret?
I'll give y'all a funny story. I'll do a funny one for this one.
Okay.
America. I woke up one morning I was at a prison up north in Winfield, Louisiana. And I woke up one morning hearing some sounds that you shouldn't hear in prison.
Oh my God, this is where
And-
we're going with this.
This is a spicy podcast.
I
And
don't
that's why I
feel
chose to tell a funny
like
story.
this is heartwarming.
So
Not heartwarming. He said interesting.
So I wake up and I look to my right, and a couple of bunks down, I see this big guy that looks like a lineman for the Saints.
Not
He's
it's for
he's
some
yeah, for some pro team. This guy looks like a lineman for a pro football team. He's about 6'2", look about 200 plus pounds. He was sucking the toes of a guy about 5'5", 5'3". And I was so angry, but it was so funny at the same time that I wanted to run over there and curse both of them out, but I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, you can't make this shit up.
So
What a
much,
visual.
like not kink shaming, but that's just nasty.
No, yeah, we don't kink shame, but also have some decorum in prison, people.
I mean, some decorum, but like I just think like athlete's foot, like you probably walking across the ground, like what kind of like like what?
Athlete's foot in prison is rampant.
Yes.
And yeah, that was probably the weirdest thing.
I feel like this is the first time you've shared that publicly, and I appreciate it being here.
That was one of them things I definitely didn't look forward to seeing in prison.
I just the visual of like the height aspects alone.
Yeah,
That's now thank you because now I will think of this
I was
before I go to sleep.
I was angry because
Did he
I was
have like a
angry,
I got a
but
lot of
it was too
questions
funny
with
for me to
this.
be mad. I was like, this is not real. This is not really happening. And this guy was like moaning, like it was the best thing that ever happened.
Not the moans.
Who was the big guy? Or the
No, the little guy was getting his toes sucked. So
But did he get like I've got a lot of questions. Like did he have like a DIY pedicure? Like what was do we know who this is? Like we could do a follow up.
no.
No.
Where are they now?
Where and here they are.
Well, they're probably in somebody's getting medication or something for something. I can't imagine I can't imagine you would have good mouth health after.
Prison toe suck. Yeah. Let's be so for real. Shopping should feel fun, not like a chore. And that's what makes Tresco Boutique so special. They're all about cute, affordable looks that fit your real life. From easy staples to statement pieces that instantly make your outfit. They carry styles for every shape and mood, plus shoes and accessories to top it off. And the best part, it's more than just shopping. It's kind of like hanging out with your friends who hype you up and help you find exactly what works for you. So whether you're browsing online or popping into their amazing location in Slidell, Louisiana, Tresco Boutique is where you'll find your next favorite look. Check them out at tres-co.com. That's TRES-CO.com. That'll do it, Thrush, indeed. To flip it all the way around, what does justice look like for you now? Like when you think of that, is it legal? Is it spiritual? Is it peace? Like what is justice to you in your life?
Justice for me is the family of the victim knowing that I didn't kill their son. That is like the ultimate form of to be able to prove that to that family. Because at the end of the day, there still is a family that may believe that I am the person that killed their son. And that's not true. And so just thinking about that sometimes makes me feel bad. Just knowing that, someone can have a straight disdain for me and not know the truth, and they're justified until they know that truth. So for me, justice, true justice, would be that family or proving to that family that I didn't kill their child. And justice, on the other hand, for me, would be being exonerated of these charges and putting that part of my life behind me totally. I'll never be able to get rid of it because it's a part of me and it actually made me a part of who I am. But at the same time, it took so much. My demeanor sometimes camouflages the true enormity of the experience and what I went through because I almost trained myself to be emotionally numb over a course of time for survival in prison. But I am very self-aware that there are things about me that I deal with on a regular basis, a consistent basis, because of that experience.
It's 100% complex PTSD. Like,
Yeah.
it's one thing to laugh and kiki and haha about, prison stories of toe sucking, but it's, it's, the reality is that was 21 summers. That was your son. I know you have a son. How old is he now?
He's 25.
25. And, he's in music as well, right? And so he makes music and I'm sure there's a part of you that just wants to be like, be careful what you write, but that's absolutely incredible in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
A moment that really like kind of shifted and impacted me was a silly little 30-second clip that you made at I guess a basketball game, a professional basketball game where Wobble Wobble was on, and you were reflecting. And is do you like how did that feel in that moment to see a whole thousands of people just rocking out to your lyrics?
So that was not planned. So what happened was I used to work at this youth center, right? This and so I was there with my coworkers, and we took a bunch of kids to the game, right? And the song came on, and I just grabbed my phone and was like, "Yo, they're playing my song here in the game." So I was like, "I'll just start rapping along with it." Unbeknownst to me, that right over my shoulder was my coworker's 6-year-old son, and he was getting it.
Yes.
And he was getting it, and I think he's the reason it went viral. I think people saw that little kid and was like, "Yo," and I had no idea. So when I looked back at it, I was like, "Wow!" I never even recognized he was dancing, but the whole moment for me was just kind of surreal. It was like I'm in this game, my song is playing, the people in here have no idea that I'm right here. The people sitting next to me have no idea. And now you have this 6-year-old kid who has no idea, and he's just getting it. He's juking. And I was like, it felt good.
Was that like an I made it thing? Because like being in prison while songs like Wobble Wobble and like just your name in general. I mean, like
Well,
you look up your name and you look up any video about you, there's a thread that discusses your name. You are given flowers every single time. You are, if not the most respected lyricist to come out of New Orleans, hands down. Like I'm not a hip hop girl. Y'all gonna clown me in the comments for saying all this about hip hop, but like literally, I mean, you can't. I was in middle school at a sock hop singing your verse from
What? At a
literally
sock
Catholic middle school is like they played Wobble Wobble. Like it's just ingrained in this culture, still to this day. This culture.
what's weird is the other song that you referenced, that you ain't got to say too much. I didn't really think much of it when I wrote it. It was crazy because we were doing songs for an artist named Mercedes that was on our label. We were just finishing up her album. Me and a friend of mine from high school, Jabbo, we were in there trying to come up with, we heard the beat, Carlos made the beat, we listened to it, and I just started humming. You ain't got it. And I was like, "Gee, I need you to sing it this way." He like, "All right, cool, got it." He got in there and he sung it, and I didn't think nothing else of it because that song, quote unquote, blew up while I was in prison. The reason I started learning about it because officers would come up to me like, "Hey, man, I made my first child on this song." I'm like, "What song?" So when they're telling me, I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that's when I got to know about that song. Now Wobble Wobble, ironically, they shot the video for Wobble Wobble 7 days after my arrest.
Yeah, that shit's annoying.
I was in a cell. It was #1 on the countdown on MTV, BET, and so every time it came on, the guys on the tier would be like, "Slim, your song on the TV again." I would just cover myself up and go to sleep.
You're like, thanks.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't even want to hear it. I used to just go
Ugh.
to sleep at the time. I was like, whatever.
Literally, how annoying.
every-
I'm so sorry that you had to miss out on those moments, but I literally have no doubt. I don't know what's next for you, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But if there's music on the horizon, more music, I know like something's gonna hit, and you'll be able to, relish in that moment in today's age. I feel it. Let's take it back. How did y'all meet? How did this become a thing? Like,
We actually met through his mom, believe it or not. So I was mom approved, but I don't think maybe any of us foresaw the rest of it. I was working on something for someone else, and his case came up, and I was like, okay, well, there was a lot of similarities, and so someone reached out to me and introduced me to his mom. It was just one of those things where really and truly from the moment he and I started talking, it wasn't like somebody getting to know somebody. It was kind of like somebody that had just come back into your life. Like it was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like we talked all the time about everything.
So was it like a turn-in moment of like it went from like, oh, like, yeah, I'm calling, I talked to your mom, to like, wow, we have feelings for each other.
We just started talking to each other every day,
Like 300 million
all
times a
day.
day, which is very
So,
expensive.
yeah.
But I was not footing the bills, thank God.
We just started talking a lot, and it just gradually happened. It was like she just became somebody that was like somebody I always knew. You know what I mean? It was like we always knew each
like
other,
that.
and
That's
it's
one of those
not
things where
no,
you
yeah.
just try to describe it and not sound crazy when you describe it like that. But it's like literally like how many lives have we gone through this, or what is this iteration of it? But
It just happened. It wasn't.
now
There was no
the
magic like just
first
boom.
time
Oh,
though
no,
that
it just happened.
he was like trying to get me to actually admit stuff, the timing on everything was comedy. he he kept trying to question me about like, do you find me attractive, do you have feelings for me, and every
Now you are twisting it.
no, I'm not. That's the truth. Like you got embarrassed, almost choked. It's okay. But at any rate, like
America,
I wouldn't
that's not what
answer.
happened.
I would not answer because like one at this point is like, he's a client. I have, kind of like a no nonsense. I have always had a no nonsense rule about kind of that crossing that line. But then, as some of your viewers may or may not know, prison calls are typically 15 minutes. So every time that anything was about to be, anytime I would start to answer, thank you for calling Secure. This went
Saved by the bell.
every single time. Like,
America, I gotta clear something up.
no.
I was not just like, oh, do you find me attractive? No, 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 no,
you
no.
weren't.
We were having a conversation. She said something, and as a result of what she said, I was like, hold up, wait. Do you find me attractive?
No, you said something first that sparked what I said, and then you said that, and then it hung up on us.
So after I asked her that, she didn't say anything. So I took that as, okay, yes, because a person who don't would be like, nah, not like that. So she didn't say anything.
Did everyone from like your side always support this?
What are people that matter? You're always gonna have people that are gonna be like, "What are you doing?" People are skeptical. I mean, that's life with anything, particularly coming from the situation I was in and the situation she was in. I'm pretty sure people on her side was like, "What are you doing? You're about to marry someone in prison?"
And that's that.
You know what I mean? So that's gonna happen.
Even some people that may or may not care for me or not, it was just like, you have all these shows, and so that's one of those. It's like not everybody's like that. It's not that, and ours was. It was to the point where, we're always cautiously optimistic, but to that point, we had seen things that should have happened. Like you're just looking, going, "Are we reading the same stuff? Like I'm not understanding this, denial or whatever." And it just came to the decision of, are you willing to ride this out? Like, and
Yeah.
I think I've described it before of like, do you sit around and like, yeah, I dream of a wedding in prison.
Right.
But
And-
I do have to say, like, what we had, like, we were surrounded by people we care about and vice versa. And we actually made it really nice. And it was on hip hop's birthday, so it was very poetic in that sense, too.
Yeah.
Lots
And
of poetic justice.
yeah, in the rain, it was hot.
It was
as
hot.
hell.
Then it rained right
And
at
then,
the end.
but it held off.
But it was like a
it was-
cool as summer rain.
Yeah, and we danced in the rain, and
we danced
got
in the rain.
soaked, and
Yeah.
a cake melted, but it was great.
I wanted to
No.
clarify something. America, I never got my toes sucked in prison. I just want to make sure that is understood.
All right, well, let's get back to it. Angelique, you're not just Mac's wife.
Thank you.
You're a strategist, a speaker, in my humble opinion, a force to be reckoned with.
Thank you.
I
This
told
is
you I'm
so
obsessed. Can we talk about like the work that you do in PR and how that maybe would have affected or kind of intersected with what y'all do together and his public advocacy and things like that?
yeah. So I guess just in general, like it's kind of my jam, obviously. But I actually started out in entertainment. It was like a natural progression going into more of the social impact and advocacy space. And, that it was a natural progression, but then that's always been like me. It was one of those things where my mom was always, if you see something wrong, then, you stand up for it, even if you're the only one standing up. And there's a ton of stories where I'm looking back being like, damn, I could have gotten killed or beat up or something, but whatever. But with him, it was just like, particularly like with his case, like kind of even just starting there, where you can see so many wrongs. And, just like I pointed out earlier of how you had these smoke and mirrors, it's like, all right, I can reverse this. And the industry knew his story, but people outside of that didn't. And I'm like, it's the people outside of that that need to feel as enraged as I do. Like it needs to be a white grandma in Iowa that's like, "What the hell?" No, and not only just for him, but for all of the people that are sitting there, just like that, and where it's pushing your thinking. And so my thought process really was truly like, okay, how do we go about this? And there were so many emails, like a good friend of ours that we worked on with the lyrics on trial, rap on trial situation.
And that's you can find that on Hulu, right?
Not the documentary, but like, so his name is Eric Nielsen. He co-wrote a book with Dr. Andrea Dennis called Rap on Trial, and he literally goes around the country and has testified. Like, I'm always like, yeah, we've been doing this. You'll just find out about it. But Eric, I found him actually through a paper he had written like years before. His situation, normally you might see one or two things that fit as a wrongful conviction, like eyewitness misidentification or whatever. His ran the start to finish, ran the gamut. And but so it was like I started trying to reach out to people that was their expertise or whatever. And I came across Eric's stuff, and so when I say, like, there was a lot of emails that ended with, please don't think I'm crazy. This is real. That we joke about it now, but that's like writing an email trying to explain this to somebody that doesn't live in Louisiana and doesn't understand that these things happen. You sound like a nut. We finally hit this point where people were going, wait, no, this is some bullshit. I don't know how to really articulate how it felt as far as like seeing this stuff, like finally, okay, now we're getting some traction, but at the same time seeing this like doubling down on like, yeah, you think you're getting out, and so it's like we're dealing with these two things at once. So it was kind of like a yes and then a fuck at the same
And
time.
up and then two downs.
Yeah, it's shitty enough. Like if this was just like a client, right? But this is also somebody that you love and adore and see very differently. And um, just knowing that you had people that didn't view him in the same light, or this like, oh, everybody says they're innocent. Just it. Me, I'm kind of weird with stuff that pisses me off. Just fuels me that much more. But
That is true.
I think that's like why it was so important to me to have you guys on the show was because like the people that we talk to here, like the listeners, our nerds, they are kind of the late 20s through 40s. I call them like millennial MILFs. Like they're educated, they're hot. And maybe though life has gotten in the way, like they probably are a little traumatized. And so they find like some dark comedy in all of this. But they can use what normally they wouldn't have had a voice in to have influence and share stories like these, even in small circles. And that has a compound effect.
it's just given the space that we're in, it's like that part right there, and just understanding that even if life has been life in and kicked you in the ass, your voice is still important. It's important to hear, and that's one thing, just in my work, the storytelling aspect of it. Like we can push something all day, but I want to know what's the why, what's the reason, or who is like if it's a product, right? Like what is the story behind it? And I think that now people more than ever need to understand that their voice and their stories count, because just like with him, you know, he's one, his situation is one out of thousands. And so being able to talk about these things, or being able to, you know, say, hey, I matter too, is particularly important. But I feel like you have so many people that they feel silenced, or they don't feel like they count. And that's not true.
That brings me to my next question is like, in your Medium article and things like that, you said that like women like you in that kind of position, being home while your husband's incarcerated and you're fighting for him, like people feel almost like silenced and they don't feel like they have a voice. Like, what would you tell people who are sitting at home listening to this, wondering and losing hope?
I'm telling them to fight. Like I know that sometimes that's easier said than done. Really, it's just the trickle down effect of it all, right? And I think that whether it's a wrongful conviction or maybe it's over sentencing, or maybe it's whatever it is real, right? The people attached suffer as well, and that's what I don't think many people think, but it's a lot. And it's like at the end of the day, is that person right there next to you, or you know and they're going through things, and it's so it's hard to move through that. But being there for that person and knowing that regardless, they're there for you in whatever way, whatever capacity, hopefully they are. But I would say, like, you do have the ability, the same ability that I have to sift through court records, so do you. Like, it's time consuming, but and send those, please don't think I'm crazy, emails, because there are people that can help. They just don't know about the situation or learn. You do see some people that maybe take it a little too far, and they think that suddenly they're an attorney or whatever, but learn as much as you can. Like, and I say that as a general thing, not just this type of situation. Understand your constitutional rights, probably a good thing. If you understand, hey, that's not right.
Maybe be a little educated on what's going to happen in our judicial system.
Yeah, I encourage people, because it's like humans are interesting. Like we have the ability to get through anything and count when we don't think we do.
It's that word that you hate.
That's why you see me dancing around it. I'm sitting here really trying to find.
America, she hates the word resilience.
I do. I just.
Yeah, you
feel
said
like
we're getting rid of resilience, right?
I did.
She hates the word
I won't.
resilience.
But she is indeed resilient. Both of you are. This last little question for you, Angelique. I gotta like throw in something a little spicy. Like I gotta be myself. Okay. Let's talk about the first night. Okay, so you're free. Like, did he turn you out? Like, what's going on? Or were y'all like, I'm tired. Like, we're going to bed. Yeah, tell me about sex. Your sex life.
He's over here turning red.
He put that thing on her, y'all.
America,
Wait, no, go ahead. Interrupt. I know you want to.
it was 21 years, America.
Yeah.
21 years. And he unleashed it.
Unleashed on me, and yeah.
Period. We love that for you.
As out of the corner of my eye, I see him really over there just turning red.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't want to answer it, you didn't have to, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
We wanted to hear. I mean, that's what I wanted to know. I've been like, as like
I'm-
your girlfriend. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, all right. Well, did he do the thing?
He did do the thing.
Okay,
As
period.
he's turning red.
Okay, so we're gonna start our fire round, rapid questions. So here it is. Favorite beignets.
Oh, Cafe Du Monde.
Cafe Du Monde.
First impression of each other.
He's all right.
Beautiful.
Who caught feelings first?
That's a lie.
You know.
She pointed to him. If you're listening on audio.
America, there's no way to factually determine any of that.
Describe your love in 3 words.
Crazy, passionate. Don't fuck with him.
Oh, period.
Don't play with us.
A song that reminds you of him.
None of his.
America, she's a hater, I told you.
Artist. Not me
No.
being on a man's side right
No,
now.
well, I mean, that's just weird. It'd be like every time I think of you, I just think of your social media.
Just see you not just riding your car. You ain't got to say it.
Yeah, you know you got to do that on the way home, that song.
She doesn't like the song.
I hate that song.
It's so New Orleans sexual. That's the best way I could put it. I learned this song in middle school, but I did get pregnant in high school. So
I was a West Coast kid that loved East Coast rap. So really, I mean, I love his music. I'll say that so they don't think I'm a total hater. But
hater alert.
I don't know. That one is tough.
A song that reminds you of her.
As by Stevie Wonder.
See, that was good. I need to think faster on these.
Unfortunately, you're out of time for that. What's one thing the public doesn't know about your love that you feel that they should?
That it is strong, very strong. I mean, we went through,
Hell, back.
yeah, we went through it all. I think a lot of people think that, they see her and they're like, yo, they may have what they think this relationship is, but what they don't know is we met.
In the trenches.
What do you think? What would you say they think? Like the haters?
Well, you have the elephant in the room is always people deal with race, and they're like, how did, you got with hers, you're successful, she blah, 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 this, that, and other. I'm like, y'all don't know the half. This woman was there for me when, in the trenches. So, and I'm not the type of person who, as beautiful as I think my wife is, I'm not going to make a life-altering decision to marry someone and spend a life with them based on the way they look. Nah, I'm not that dude. My parents have been married for 48 years. So
Shout out to your mom who just had a birthday.
yeah, my mom just had a birthday. So I'm very selective, and I knew this was it. I knew she was everything I ever wanted.
Oh, you be nice today?
I'm nice sometimes.
They're about to recreate. Never mind. All right, let's go back to that one thing the public doesn't know about your love.
We actually are like the two biggest shoo partner. Like you talk about partners in crime, but not really crime.
Not crime. Partners in not crime.
America, she don't mean it that way. We got to be very specific.
What's your most underrated quality that you see in your partner?
She does not take no for an answer. She is fierce.
Don't take no
If she
from the
knock
people
on
that
this
do
door,
not have the ability to tell you or the authority to
Yeah,
tell you
she
yes in the
doesn't-
first place.
she doesn't. If she wants to get something done, it's going to get done. If she knock on this door and nobody answer, she
Somebody
may knock
else
a
is
couple
getting
more
adulted
times,
crazy.
and she'll knock a couple more times, and when they don't answer, she'll just run a bulldozer through the door. Like, it's going to get done.
The underrated, I think, is just his extreme level of humility and kindness, because I oftentimes think I am not my husband because he is much more kind. Yeah, me,
I'm pretty extreme, America.
I'm high road until I'm not, and that's like I really respect his level of humility, and he's kind when I wouldn't be. I'd be like, yeah, you don't exist.
And I'm on parole too, America.
Yeah,
So
but I
keep
don't
that
think
in mind.
it's
Okay, what's one thing that you had to unlearn in order to grow together during this process of your relationship?
patience. I mean, two ADD people in the same house, one medicated, one not, and an artist. You got like a half creative, which would be me, and then you have a whole creative, which just, I mean, that's a mess in its own thing. But I think also
Pretty true.
I have to stop myself sometimes because my husband is very, very intelligent and catches on to things very quickly. However, he has weaponized incompetence many times.
America,
It's the truth. So
that is a very
he
interesting
doesn't.
term to describe.
Can,
Um,
interestingly enough, figure out all of this software and all of this stuff, but then looking up something, he thinks I'm Siri, but as
she
and I
spoiled me,
say that,
America.
do I look like Siri or what is the other one? The one I yell at all the time because she never gets things right. The Google
Alexa?
one, yeah, Alexa.
You are a prompt.
Yes, I am. I'm clearly. But outside of that,
Let me pinch you and find out.
No.
Okay.
but outside of that, just I have to also think like, where we have technology and have different things in front of our face 24/7 all the time, and if we skip and maybe we don't get the new update or whatever, we we don't know what we're doing. We have to ask for help. I'm sure you do it with your son and drive him crazy.
Look
My
at her giving
daughters-
you grace.
not much, because there are things where it is
Not
indeed
much.
weaponized incompetence. Nerds use this word.
You know what's crazy is the question was about what you had to unlearn, and now we're.
No, I had to unlearn. I had to learn.
I'm glad you pointed that out.
I've never I never take up for a man, but not me taking up for a man right now. Actually, never mind.
Well, with him though, I do have to say, like, I mean, some of it, it's my baby, but he's annoying. He knows it. He'll tell you he's annoying. But there are things where I have to kind of take a
Purposely
step back
annoying.
and go, hey, you should
Very
probably be more
strategically
patient,
annoying.
because he may not really know, or he may have amnesia. I don't know.
The weaponized incompetence. What about you?
Weaponized
What's one
incompetence.
thing that you had to either learn or unlearn in order to grow in your relationship?
Patience and acceptance.
All right, let's get down to business. The spicy round. I wouldn't say this is too like spicy on the spicy meter, but it's probably gonna like cause a little ruckus over here. Who's more stubborn?
No, I'm not in this one. We're probably what for what.
Oh, not matching energy.
I'm
That's a
stubborn,
good
but
one.
he's bullheaded. He would be like, plant your feet. Like, he's one that he will do. He knows you're right about something, but just to prove you wrong, he's gonna do the opposite and suffer the consequences.
You do that?
Yeah. I mean, in my defense, being stubborn has made me the artist I eventually became. Because as a kid, I had no knowledge of music. Nobody in my family did anything, with music. So for me, I was hell bent on being a musician, and I was stubborn as a kid. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I chose what I wanted to do with the rest of my life at 7. So it was like, this is what I'm going to do.
He said, I may be stubborn, but it has served me. So, who makes the first moves?
What now?
Yeah.
We're old, so I don't know. It's whoever's
It's
not.
random. Yes, it's random.
So, how do we keep the spark alive? Tell me, as someone, I mean, I'm 34, just turned 34. Not me telling America how old I am,
She
but
wants to know what happens when
like,
you
what
get
happens?
over 8,000 years old, like we are.
I'm like, I've been horny since I was 14. So, I need to know. Does
Clearly
it go
with your
away?
Sock hop song. No, it doesn't go away.
She is weird because she makes the moves probably more when we're at home. I make the moves more when we're away.
Okay.
So it's like,
I think it's like a mind, like,
yeah, I
like
think
whatever
it's-
your mind happens to be on. Like, I think he's thinking about more things at home, and
yeah,
he's also asleep. Like, he's one of those people that if his head hits the pillow, he's
It's over
asleep,
with.
and it's
Yeah, it's done.
disgusting. Like that's just, yeah.
she a hater. Like, she don't like the fact
No,
that she
so-
can't do that.
Yeah.
She's like, how do you go to sleep when the world is on fire right now? And then you're like,
Well, in prison, I learned to, like, I mean, you have to keep in mind, you're in an environment where anything could happen at any given time. And I just decided there, just like, yo, I'm going to sleep. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care. I'm going to sleep. Whatever's going to happen to me is just going to happen. I don't care. You know what I mean? We got to rest. Yeah, so I guess as I'm very energetic, so I'm a busybody. I do a lot of stuff throughout the day. So by the time I get to the bed, it's over with.
I mean, I don't know. I just look at him. I mean, my husband's kind of hot sometimes. So
period.
he's all right.
I mean, my wife is hot all the time. That's not the question. It's just,
Not all the time. I mean, there's times where I'm like, damn, that's how I look today. I don't know. I mean, I just like that. He's somebody that, like, we've been together, what, 11 going on 12 years now. And just, it's not even a matter of like being apart physically. It's just more, I mean, he's someone that I'm just attracted to on every level. And I don't know. It's not any one, it's an answer without an answer.
100%. You're just attracted to him, period, end of story.
and I think part of it is I'm attracted to her mind too.
Yeah, that's
Love
what I
that.
was gonna say on
So
it. 'Cause
and,
it's
and,
like-
and I'm not saying that in a cliche sense. I'm saying that in a real sense. I like the way she thinks because she thinks a lot of times differently than me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always a good thing.
That's so hot. I'm obsessed.
No, I think that's it though. I think like when you're young and and hot, like literally in the draws. Like
Mhm.
you look at people and you be like, yeah, and then you realize you don't have shit in common with them, and it gets. I mean, I don't know about other people. I get bored. I would get bored, and I mean, there's only so long sex can keep you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, this is boring.
Yeah, so young people, if y'all watching, I'm gonna tell you, find you someone that stimulates your mind because
In all senses,
in all
because we
senses,
say
because
stuff like that, it sounds like we're just cornering one thing. Like, yeah, I don't think people get it. My
yeah,
husband's hot, like, but mentally, physically, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, art loves art, and the artist in you sees and respects that about him, and you,
She took it deep. I'm just like, he's hot.
and he's hot, and she's hot, and together,
We're hot. Sometimes
together we
literally.
burning up. It's getting hot in here.
who's more likely to start a petty argument, and who's gonna be the one to end it?
Shh.
Oh,
No.
not to point at each
She's-
other.
She's more than likely to start the petty
No.
argument.
It is not petty.
Oh.
I have given it deep thought.
My point exactly, America.
I've given it deep thought. A lot of times I don't say anything at all. And then I just can't take it anymore.
And who ends it?
Me,
Bullshit.
I always end it. Yeah, because I apologize. She's unapologetic.
Oh,
I apologize.
Cap.
let's go ahead, wrap it up. What is next for you guys? What's going on, whether it's music or in, advocacy work? What are we doing?
Well, first,
We've got a list.
Let's
got a
do
list of
it.
things. My new project, musical project, will be out. Hopefully, it's tentatively scheduled for July 30th, my birthday. Yeah, I'll be 48. So the name of the project is SOS, which stands for Son of Sheila. It's an ode to my mother, because my mom is the first person who I remember as a kid having a profession that wasn't traditional. She's a visual artist. She paints. So that's what kind of gave me the confidence to step out and do something like music. And that's why, as I said, I decided what I wanted to do the rest of my life at 7. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's one thing we got coming up is that me and my baby here are traveling across this country advocating for bills that protect autistic freedom.
The RAP Act or the Rap on Trial Act, hopefully I'm looking.
We're nominated for another Emmy.
That's right. We
Let's
are
fucking go,
For our
boys.
second one.
So this is how humility works in our household. I give us 48 hours, 48 to 72 for something big. And I have determined that whatever it is, you have to announce it with my name or whatever it is that you call me or vice versa. So he was Emmy winning Mac
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
40.
Emmy Award winning Mac.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I love this.
And we are nominated. Well, he is this time. I wasn't part of that one. Although I feel like I should be because I was on a stupid ass little boat being drugged by the big boat that he literally ran. They let him drive.
That was funny.
But we're being just going right on through the bayou, and I'm like, fuck, we're gonna
Where we went,
I'm gonna
Bayou,
die.
Um,
man shack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ponchatoula. So I had to drive
I should
one of
not
those
be
big
able to go
pontoon
like
boats.
this, and I didn't know what was in that water. Like anything.
It was
could have been in
she
that
was
water.
following the boat. She was with the production crew. The camera crew was on the boat. With
No,
her.
it was just me and the
And
producer.
the producer.
And
yeah,
me
you're
and the
right, 'cause
producer,
cameras
and
was on
he's-
our boat, but the
anytime-
producer
And you're like, wee.
But we're being drugged literally by a
being
rope.
drugged by them.
So when
by
we,
us.
yeah,
Our boat
Our
was
boat,
dragging
yeah.
them.
and they're letting him
And
drive.
I'm driving the boat.
And I'm
Never
turning
drove a boat
around,
before
and
in
I
my
was like,
life.
Sam, who fucking decided to let him drive?
So this will be in the.
This one was called As We Speak. It's on Paramount Plus. It's been on Paramount Plus. But it tells a story in very unconventional ways. That was thus him driving the boat, because I think a lot of people think of things in a different way. Like even the thought process when they interviewed attorneys on the subject matter, the attorneys are in more of like even sitting the way you would expect maybe something more from like a hip hop video, something like even an interview or something. And so it was weird, but if you knew where it was going, it was really cool. But they are nominated, so I think like next week is when the thing is, and
We're gonna win it again.
Yes.
Got to get the Grammy next.
Yeah.
I can't.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna just. I've been encouraging him just to go Andre 3000, but instead of a flute, he could go like kazoo or something. Just be weird. Lean into your weirdness. I'm kidding.
Yeah, bring out a little McKinley.
McKinley's not here right now.
Oh, sorry. You
Um,
just started a newsletter
I
too.
did. Thank you. It's called Amplified, and it's kind of a mix of, hey, here's what's really going on with this headline or this whatever you see, just from a PR perspective, because I can't speak from that. Like I can't say, hey, legally that's
Right.
fucking stupid. But
Hmm.
but then also I think you've got so many people, whether they're creators or whatever, that are interested in being heard, and so that'll be a part of it, is giving you the tools, because that's something particularly like within the even the nonprofit space. I'm realizing how many voices needed to be heard, but they didn't necessarily have the tools to do so, or maybe even the funding to do so. So it's like, hey, here's this weekly tip, here's this thing, and then by the way, let's break this part down because it's stupid.
Hmm.
Period.
So, but outside of that, like, I guess when he was like other stuff, well, the other stuff is just really advocating and supporting criminal justice reform as a whole. I talk a lot about the things that are happening in Louisiana, mainly because we live here, but for the people that don't, I think that they can use it as kind of a key of to what's about to happen on another level, because
Hmm.
it has not been. My theory has not gone wrong yet.
Mm.
Where whatever we're seeing,
Unfortunately for all of
yeah,
us, huh?
unfortunately, it's like we're the guinea pigs or something.
The link will be in the show notes, by the way, for all of these things, including Miss Sheila's maybe artwork stuff. We could get the links to that.
Shout out to Motherin'.
Yeah, shout out to moms. Mom's been doing that thing. Yeah,
Last
about
thing,
it.
if
Yeah.
you guys could look directly into the camera and just say, "Dear everyone," with a message you want to give to the world.
Dear everyone, question everything.
So good. Obsessed.
Dear everyone, please be patient with each other.
Love.
Even your annoying boo.
Oh,
I mean, the love of my life. Greatest human on earth.
if you loved this, you're really going to love the stuff that we didn't air. Uncut convos, spicy extras, my thoughts after the mic drops, all waiting for you over on our Patreon at patreon.com/V So Spicy. It's where the secrets live. See you inside.